Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Today's topic, inventory management essentials for increased profitability, will be presented by our very own Mark Hughes, our senior ERP subject matter expert. He has more than 20 years of manufacturing and ERP experience and has helped hundreds of organizations better manage their internal operations so that they can grow fast and drive profit. And with that, Mark, please take it away.
Good morning, afternoon, evening to people, depending on where you're joining us from in the world. So today we're going to do a brief 20 minutes on looking at some inventory management tools that would potentially help you to control your business better, and ultimately, if you control your business better, to increase your profitability. Today we are going to be looking at some features within SAP Business One as well. So we're going to be looking at how a modern ERP system can help you manage inventory. Okay, so to get started. Okay, what is inventory management? I'm guessing that pretty much everybody on the call has a view on that. So for me, it's about three things really. It's about what you have got in terms of items and stock versus what you actually need. Big question. So, do we actually need what we've got? It's about where it is, versus where you think it is. So again, where do I actually have it physically, as opposed to where my systems or my spreadsheets or my paper documents or whatever else tell me it is. And it's about when I have it versus when I need it. So again, I'm sure there are things as you look around your warehouses or your shop floors or anything else where there are piles of inventory or there are shelves of inventory that you think shouldn't probably be there because you don't actually need it right yet. So inventory management for me is about those things, the quantities, the locations, and the timing of components or stock items. So we're going to go on and talk about some of those. Why do we worry about inventory? Why is it seen for, I think recent Gartner report said 56 of businesses, it was their single biggest concern in terms of inventory control and inventory management. But why should we worry about it? Well, if we don't have enough or we have the wrong things, generally that's not good because we lose sales because we can't satisfy demand, or if we're a manufacturer, then we end up, our manufacturing process ends up stopping because we haven't got components to complete the job. In terms of lost sales, I'm sure we've all been in situations where we've got back orders, we haven't been able to satisfy demand. We're in a world where the customer perception has been changed dramatically by some of the big players like Amazon and so on. People now expect things instantly, certainly within 24, 48 hours. And they don't tolerate things being on back order, being delivered later. And customer satisfaction and satisfying the customer has become everything. So, one of the big problems about stock now is having enough to make sure that we don't lose our customers, we don't upset our customers, they don't go elsewhere. Of course, the world is such as well that with the internet and visibility of things, it's very easy to go and source things from other places. That can work in our favor, of course, because it can allow us to satisfy our demands as well. Okay. On the flip side, if we're carrying too many items, this is often the financial controllers, the accountant's worst nightmare. Why? Because we have cash tied up in stock. So for a lot of businesses, it's probably your single biggest issue in terms of cash flow is how much stock you've got there. Physically takes up space, which again has a cost, and for a lot of us, we will have stock that becomes obsolete, whether that's because it shelf life and it runs out, whether it's because it's seasonal and reaches the end of its season, or whether that's because it becomes genuinely obsolete and superseded by other things. All of these issues, whether it be too much or too little, have an impact on our cash situation, on our profitability. If it's because we've got the wrong items, we haven't got enough, we lose sales, too many, and it's costing us money. So fundamentally, it's going to all come down to the profitability of the business. So for me, the key to proper inventory control, and this kind of alludes back to those three things I mentioned before, is trying to get an understanding of our customer demand and using tools and techniques to translate that to how we supply that. So that age-old conundrum of how do we balance supply and demand. Okay. So I think for me, and I've been into lots of businesses where we've rolled out new systems, we've looked at things, and if any of you have attended any of my other webinars, you'll know I'm a great fan of using common sense for a lot of these things. So the first thing we need to think about, even before we think about systems, whether they be Excel-based or paper-based or anything else, is just some good common sense and good practice. Clearly, if your warehouse, if your shop floor looks like this, you've got much bigger problems than just inventory. But, laying out our shop floor, laying out our warehouses so that we're not, carrying things, moving things, doing too much of that type of thing. Visibility, being able to see things, get to things. So access. I've been into lots of businesses where serialization or batch control has been absolutely key, and they've wanted people to go and pick particular batches from the shelves. But the layout of their shelves are that everything goes onto a shelf, it's only accessible from one side, and your shop floor workers, your warehouse workers are going to go pick the first box they can find, not necessarily the right box. So again, it's all about laying things out so that physically and visibly you can get to the right items, you can put them away, you can see where stuff is, you can find stuff, all of those types of things, even before you start automating and everything else. So number one thing, start to think about your layout, start to think about how you get to stuff, your visibility, everything else. Then we start to think about, more important things in terms of how do I start to optimize my inventory. So there are lots of ways of categorizing your inventory. One of the common ones, and the common ones used by systems, is something called ABC. And this is where we start to look at which are the most important items I have in stock. So whether that be by value and the quantity by value and everything else. And the whole idea of beginning to categorize our inventory is so that we can start to think about how we control it. And maybe for our A-type items, we control them using Reorder Point or min-max or other types of tools like that. But for our C-type items, which are very low value, all of those types of things, maybe we use different tools like vendor managed inventory and everything else. So again, one replenishment strategy or one reorder strategy isn't going to work for all the items you have in stock. So I think it is important to start thinking about, your different categories of items and what they are and what they mean and how you need to manage them. I kind of mentioned a few of these just now, but there are different methods of managing your inventory, from some very simple ones. Min-max. Min-max simply says, I want to keep a minimum of this. If it's part A, I want to keep 6 of these in stock. When I get to a minimum point, I'm going to reorder up to a maximum point. Systems make it easier, but fundamentally, again, it's just that really simple point. Reorder point, when I drop below a certain level, I'm going to order a quantity of these back in. I'm going to come back to MRP in a minute. Just in time. Real buzz, and anybody that attended my seminar on lean manufacturing recently, just in time about getting stuff there just as I need it. So not holding massive amounts of stock, but of course that does mean you need to understand your demand model very carefully. Vendor managed inventory, where and this is big in the automotive industry, places like that, where I literally relinquish control of my stock, my inventory control, my stock control to my supplier. I say, I build a relationship with them where they will refill my line side stock bins, all of those types of things. Consignment, again, where I'm holding stock that belongs to my supplier, or I'm holding stock, I'm sending stock to my customer to be used, and it's only when I use it that I pay for it, and those types of things. Kanban, another great visual technique, comes in line with just in time a lot, where I have physical or visual indicators of when I need to reorder or when I need to replenish stock. So there's lots of different ways we can start looking at those. And again, today we're not going to drill into the detail in any of those. I'm just going to throw them out there and say, we're going to think about those. And in fact, I think a couple of weeks' time, on the 14th of September, we're going to be talking about perpetual inventory and how we manage perpetual inventory and those types of things as well. So another webinar coming up on that. But for me, again, I mentioned this on the last slide, get a handle on demand. So if you don't know what you need, it's very, very difficult to use any sophisticated techniques to get it there on time. So, we need to look at tools that allow us to do demand forecasting potentially. So ensuring that we can keep the minimum stock and still never run out of things. Needs are always going to fluctuate in businesses. I don't think I've ever walked into a single business where the use of a particular item is predictable. Yeah, there are certain items that are, but for a lot, it fluctuates based upon seasonality, economy, business trends, consumer demand, all of these types of things. And therefore, if you are going to accurately forecast, and I think that in its own right is a bit of an anomaly, because by definition of forecast is a little bit of guesswork, but if we are going to use forecasting tools and so on, big advice is, involve both marketing and sales. If nothing else, when sales then get upset because you haven't got enough product to sell, you can bring them back in and say to them, you guys helped us with this forecast, helped us to understand what our demand patterns look like. Hopefully though, if your sales team is doing your forecasting right and your marketing team is doing your forecasting right, looking at market trends, they're going to give you massive help in terms of deciding what product to keep on the shelves, what product to get in as components for manufacturing, all of those types of things. And then I think, the other thing about optimizing your inventory is automation. So automating your inventory processes. And one of the big ones, of course, for that is barcoding, or any sort of RFID tagging, or any way of identifying automatically what a product is, where it is, and all of those types of things as well. And some of the best returns we've seen from rolling out inventory management systems are where people have gone over to using handheld barcode scanners. They put barcode labels on their shelves, all of those types of things, because they're getting real-time updates into their inventory management system then. So big one for me, looking at automating processes, and whether that be barcoding or RFID tagging or whatever else it is, some way of automatically collecting data to make it easy. The other thing, of course, about getting a handle on your stock control is actually knowing what you have got. It kind of sounds obvious, but stock counting. So understanding what I've got and where I've got it, and what it means. So, again, just talk very briefly about a couple of stock taking techniques here. One size doesn't fit all. So again, depending on the type of business you're in, various different methods work. But what I see increasingly as I roll out systems these days is that people want to move towards a trust in potential inventory. And to be perfectly honest, if we've used automated systems, barcodes, booking in, booking out in real time, there shouldn't be any reason why, what we believe our stock position to be is wrong at any point in time. So again, if we're doing all things right, then perpetual inventory counts, where we're constantly tracking the ins and outs, should get us pretty close. Cycle counting. So again, most of the businesses we work with now do some form of cycle counting. Again, very often based upon your ABC classifications or something like that, where I am going to physically count a subset of stock, but it is a subset. I'm not going to go count everything. I'm just going to go count something in a particular location or particular items. And I might do that on a daily basis, might do that on a weekly basis. One of the key reasons for doing that is to see where we are out of kilter with our stock, see where our systems tell us we've got different amounts to physical, and then investigate those differences, because there must be a problem that's causing that. So is it because when somebody in goods inwards is putting these items away, they're not scanning them, they're not booking them in? Is it because somebody from manufacturing is just coming down and taking stuff from stores without booking it out? So again, if you can catch stuff as soon as possible, so if you can catch those differences within minutes of them happening, or within hours or days, you've got a much better chance of tracking back and finding out where the errors are than if you leave it till the end of a period or whatever else. And of course, updating your stock levels, because generally, we're trying to run as lean as we can. We're trying to run all those sort of things. And if we don't know what we've got, it makes it very hard. One of the best forms of cycle counting I've ever seen was in a business with fast moving stock, and they used to count items when they had 0 on hand. What do I mean by that? They used to put the same stock in the same bins. When that bin was empty, they knew exactly how many was in there, 0, and they used to check the stock at that point. So again, even different ways of doing your cycle counting. Of course, the traditional favorite is your annual physical stock take. Typically, this is very time consuming and disruptive. We've all been through it multiple times, typically, on those those public holiday weekends or whatever else, trying to get everybody in from morning till night, having to shut down all the systems, not do any stock movements, all those type of things. So, again, all of those tools and techniques we can use to help us move away from that being as disruptive to business is A, not going to cost us as much money, and B, going to save us from losing opportunities or losing money as we're going through that stock take. Okay, so again, I said to you at the beginning, we'd have a little look at some software. Going to do it with some slides, with some screenshots rather than drilling into the live software. But again, anybody that wants to see some of these things in action, we do a live software demo every Friday. Sign up to that on our website or get in contact and we can book you onto that. But one of the nice things about modern systems, in this case it's B1, is they can help you with all of these things. So again, here I can see, by my particular warehouses, by stock values, by stock costs, recommendations in terms of what I should go and count. So the system's using its intelligence in terms of things that are moving to tell me what I should go and look for and which items I should count, and then helping me to select which ones and create the print tickets, create the count tickets and all of those types of things. So again, systems doing what they're good at. They're doing the math, they're doing the analysis and everything else. So worth looking at. I talked about barcoding. Big one for me. Here's a great picture from a warehouse where every shelf is barcoded, every bin is barcoded, every item in a bin is barcoded. So again, making it very easy for people to put things in the right places, to know where to find them, to make sure they've picked up the right things. Big thing as well, and I know a lot of people with older systems out there really struggle with a couple of these. Managing inventory by multiple units of measure. I'm going to come on and talk a bit more about that one in a minute. But this is where I can buy an item in a box. I can stock it as eaches. I can sell it in packets. All of those type of things, and my stock system will transact it and keep track of all of those. The other thing is managing multiple locations. So again, might have multiple branches, might have multiple warehouses, multiple locations, bins, might have the same stock in multiple places, all of those types of things. And increasingly in the world we operate in, if I've got a retail store and I've got a warehouse, there might be stock in both of those locations. I might want to satisfy customer demand from all of those. So again, modern systems really allow me to hold my stock in multiple locations, see where it is, have visibility across all of that. And stock valuation, gone are the days when it used to be the end of the period where we did our stock take and then we went through and we worked out what we had. Now again, stock valuation, real time, based upon latest purchase costs, based upon standard costs, all of those type of things in modern systems, helping us to understand that value of our stock and drive our businesses better. Okay, I mentioned multiple units of measure, so a quick look at this. So here's an example again from Business One where I've got an example set up here for paper. So I'm, I stock paper, and you can see that paper I can manage in small packs or cartons or pallets. I can build the relationships between those. So I can say that a 6-pack obviously is 6 ofs. Small packs, I can say the carton is 24 ofs, a pallet's 48. I can even build things around the sizing, weights, and all of those sort of things. So when I'm working out where to put things and stock control and all of those types of things, I've got that. So fundamentally, at any point, I can buy paper in by the pallet, I can stock it by the pack, I can sell it by the carton, and the system will take care of all of those translations between those items, making life very much easier and eliminating the errors that we're used to seeing. Okay, big one for me as well, available to promise. So this is not about keeping our fingers crossed as our little hand is doing there, but this is about understanding exactly what stock we've got and therefore being able to promise the customer what we genuinely can. And there's nothing worse than saying to the customer, yes, you can have it tomorrow, and then it being a week later. For a lot of customers, if you tell them they can have it in a week and they get it in a week, that's good enough. But as I say, it's about that. So instantly being able to look at what I've got on hand, but what's already been committed to other customers, what I've got coming in on purchase orders, and what I've got coming in on production orders, and the time phasing of those. So it may well be that I can take an order 3 weeks out because I've got a delivery coming in that time. And then, how does that look? So simulation, planning things. If I was to take this big order, what impact would that have on everything else? Here's how it might look in the system. So here you can see this is an OfficeJet printer. And I can see that I've got orders on there for customers. I've got purchase receipts coming in. I've got simulated requirements where I've been looking around to see what I can do and everything else. Or maybe I want to look at that graphically. So again, I can start to see that timeline along the bottom, how my inventory stacks up, when I can go in and promise things. And of course, I can ask questions of the system. I can say, when could I give the customer the 200 they require? And the system would look forward and say, okay, I've got 150 on stock, I've got another 50 coming in, they can have it at this point in time. So again, doing what systems do well and doing the maths for me. Okay, key to inventory management is, moving stock, using stock, shipping, receiving, all of those types of things. Real-time data, real-time capture here is really the key. We've all been in businesses where stuff's been delivered in, at the goods inwards at the receiving bay, it's cross-docked, it's gone straight out again, nobody's booked it in, stock gets completely out of kilter straight away. So, fully integrated system with all our inventory and accounting transactions, absolutely critical. So again, this is actually a workflow from within Business One. So I can see, what are my inflows of stock? So goods receipts from POs, returns from customers, or goods receipts from manufacturing. How do I get stock out? Well, I deliver it. Goods returned to suppliers or issuing goods to manufacturing, and the system will manage all of these transactions in real time and ensure that my stock balances remain accurate. If they don't, I've still got to try and satisfy my customer. Here's a great tool called Delivery Schedule Management, and this literally allows me to look through, and in this case I'm trying to sell an Apple iPhone 5, and I can see that I've taken this sales order for Norm Thompson. He wants 120, I haven't got any available, but I can see all of the other orders that I've got on the system. If Norman was my most important customer, I could choose to go and rob some stock or rob some from other customer orders where I've got them allocated and so on. So again, allocating, unallocating, but in a visual way, and being able to see the impact of those. So again, this will go as far as telling me what's the financial impact of doing this, how many people am I going to let down, what's the financial cost of not satisfying those orders. Okay. Bombs and production orders. So again, in terms of data accuracy, bill of material. So you've got to manage your bill of materials. You've got to get the right quantities on your bill of materials, because again, you know, modern tools like MRP are going to use your bills of materials to work out how much stock, how much I need to buy in order to satisfy my manufacturing demands. And if I don't have my bills of materials and my production orders with the right quantities on them, it's going to blow the whole thing out as well. So I'm going to come on and actually skip over that fairly quickly and talk about MRP. So MRP, something to be afraid of, something to embrace. Something to embrace, definitely. Just like a big calculator, really. What MRP does is try and balance your supply and demand. And it's fundamentally doing three things. Trying to make sure that when you need stuff, you have it there. So back to my 3 points at the very beginning, when I have it versus when I need it. So trying to get things there when I need it. Maintain the lowest possible material and product levels. So again, you know, it's all about lean. It's all about only getting stuff when you need it, and making sure that you plan your manufacturing activities to meet your delivery schedules and purchasing. So there's absolutely no point in making stuff in advance. Equally, there's no point in buying stuff in advance, and there's no point in making stuff until I have materials there to do it. So MRP is just going to go through and do all of those calculations and work those things out for you. Within Business One, pretty neat MRP engine actually, which allows me to do lots of simulations as well. So you can see here all the things I want to include in my MRP run. So do I want to include, you know, sales? Do I want to include sales quotations? So do I want to see what the impact would be if all of those quotations I've got out there came in? And do I want to buy material ahead for them? Do I want to restrict it to particular sales quotations? All of those sort of things. And I can go through and effectively build a scenario and look at that. So again, lots of powerful tools in terms of helping me to work out what I need when I need it. And the output of MRP. So here we can see it's created for me pick lists and pack lists and all of those type of things. So it's gone through, it's looked at all my orders, worked out what I need to send out to customers. Okay, the final thing I was going to talk about, and the big one really, we get all these things right. How do we know whether we're getting them right or wrong? Reporting. And again, modern systems should integrate lots of reporting into it. So here I can see a dashboard, and it's got a few things on it. So this is showing me my top 5 items by the purchase amount, showing my stock turnover by item group. So very high level stuff, but it's showing me my stock value, you know, 1.24 million. Showing me my inbound stock. I've got £12,000 worth of stock coming in. Showing me my stock turnover by warehouse. So some very high level things, and you can see my stock value is red, means it's above where I want it to be. I could then drill into that and try and understand why I've got too much stock on hand and so on. What the systems can also help us do is things like this. So this is an interactive type report where I'm looking at my stock status by all my warehouses in this case and all my item groups, and I can see that I've got a big bar there showing me that, you know, I've got faster moving stock. That's okay, I don't mind about that. I've got a little tiny bar that you can hardly see there where it's suggesting that I've got excessive stock that I don't need. I can drill into that and have a look at that, and in this case it's showing me for particular items by value that I don't need. So I can see that in this case, this Honda generator, I've got 6 of these on stock. I've not sold any, I've not turned that stock at all. That's representing, you know, $3,500 worth of inventory that I don't need. Maybe I should do something about that. Maybe I run a promotion. Maybe I do, you know, I trade it off, those types of things. So again, proactively helping me to find problem areas with my stock to try and maximize my profitability again. Okay, so in summary, your business will dictate the type of tools you need. If you're in a fast-moving distribution business, that's very different to a manufacturing, you know, project manufacturing type business in terms of how I manage my inventory. Good inventory management will ensure the success of your business. It will make sure that you have product for customers. It will make sure you have product for manufacturing, meet those demands, make money. And, you know, don't let inventory excesses or shortages become your downfall. Don't let that be what causes your business problems. Okay, any questions from everybody? Thank you for all staying on and listening. And let's see if we have a couple of questions. Cherry, do you want to see if we have any questions there, please?
Yeah, sure. Right. Okay. So we have a question from Ryan. Is barcoding an additional product, or is there a barcoding functionality in Business One?
Good question, Ryan. Everybody thinks that barcoding is something magical. Really, it's just a way of inputting data into data fields much more quickly and accurately, and it's an integral part of the whole of the Business One system. So every way you do a transaction, you can use barcodes, and then it just comes down to the kind of devices you want to use, whether they are fixed or mobile or handhelds. These days, even smartphones can be used as barcode readers to feed data back into your ERP systems.
All right. Okay, we have a question from Sean. Okay. How many of your customers have moved away from annual manual stock takes to perpetual? That's a great question.
That is a great question, and of course it is utopia of lots of people to get away from that huge time-consuming piece. I would say about 30 to 40% of our customers within 6 or 7 months get confidence in their perpetual inventory, and by the end of 2 or 3 years, I'd say that probably closer to 70 or 80% of our customers have now moved away from annual stock takes. Still going to be some that do it because of the types of business they're in, but I would say that the majority of our customers are able to move away from those now. Okay, I think that's all the questions today. It's a quiet audience, Cherry.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
also conscious we've run a little bit longer than I normally do, so apologies for that. And as I say, thank you for your attendance. Yep, if you want to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark. Great presentation as always. And thanks again for showing us how to like B1 can better manage one's inventory and warehouse. And to the audience, if you have any questions about anything that was covered in today's session, or if there's a particular topic on small business growth that you'd like us to cover, please email us here at contact@vision33.com. We'd love to hear from you. We also have a couple of webinars around inventory management lined up in the next few weeks. I think we have a talk on perpetual inventory in 2 weeks' time, actually. So please go to our website, have a look at our events page for more information on our events. And a big thank you to everyone for attending today's session, and we hope to see you next time. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Mark.